The light breaks. It's the sun making its slow and measured approach above the horizon. Like many of us, emerging beyond the white curtain. We sing, like Langston Hughes once wrote in the singular, I too sing America. We play without the masks that Dunbar scripted so long ago. And we compose the music that must be, is being heard with ears that would not hear before. We are departing the kitchen of the darker brother. This is the tomorrow, and the table is set. Welcome to Classical Music in Color. I'm Judlin Gibson. Well, my break is over, and while it was very nice, I'm happy to be back with you. Thank you for listening to this, the October-November 2022 edition of Classical Music in Color. There is a lot to talk about. There's a new vocal competition designed so almost anyone can enter. I'll also talk to one of the grantees of the Sphinx Mpower Artist Grant program. She's working on some very inclusive new music. As performing arts groups of the musical kind start their seasons, it appears many have evolved their seasons to include the music of classical composers of color and women than ever before. The Institute for Composer Diversity at the State University of New York at Fredonia is reporting that works by women and composers of color are up 400% so far in 2022. In 2015, for instance, according to the Institute, about 4.5% of those works were performed. In 2022, the percentage is now 22.5%. I've spoken to several people about the uptick in interest in women and BIPOC composers. Most of them say great and hope this commitment to classical music diversity isn't just a fad. Have you noticed a difference in the music your local orchestra or chamber group is playing this year? Let me know in the comments, and of course you'll find a link to the full report from the Institute for Composer Diversity on the Classical Music in Color page on secondstreetdreams.com. Have you ever met a black woman classical guitarist who also composes music?
Hello, my name is Dr. Siad Wells, and I am the development manager at Austin Sound Waves, and I am also the executive director for Density 512, and I recently started a record label called Marginal Glitch Records.
The reason why we're talking
is because I am going to record and release an album called La Guitarra Negra, which is an album that will feature works for guitar by Black and Latinx women composers.
You've just met one of those classical guitarists, Dr. Siad Wells. And as we all know, it's difficult to make a living in that field alone. Here's just a bit about the other work she does. Austin Sound Waves. It's an El Sistema-inspired program founded in Austin in 2011. Density 512 is an Austin-based chamber orchestra and collective of musicians. They say they are the brave and open musicians who champion contemporary programming while amplifying the voices of groundbreaking and emerging artists. And of course, Dr. Wells' new venture, her record label, Marginal Glitch Records. This is a bit of diptych by Joshua Marquez and Ryan McDermott, produced by Dr. Siad Wells. That leads us to the other major project she's working on as one of 14 winners of the Mpower Artist Grant program from Sphinx.
I was fortunate enough to be a member of the first cohort of the Sphinx Lead program, which is a program that is designed to help Black and Latinx arts administrators of color really learn and grow in their work as artists and as administrators and as people who are leaders in the field. And so I did that program 2 years ago, and that was a 2 year program. And as a result, Sphinx allows for program alumni to apply for an Empower Artist Grant. I, of course, am also a guitar player. And so I applied to do this project, which is to record the album. And I also will be producing a set of transcriptions to kind of go along with the album. I'm planning to release my album next June.
Tell me about the album. Who's on it? How did you choose them?
I did my dissertation on Black women composers for the guitar. And I primarily wrote about two composers who are currently both living, which is awesome. I wrote about Tanya Leon and Erilyn Wallen. And, over the course of doing my dissertation and my doctoral program, I became, sort of obsessed with Black women composers, and because this is something that's really important to me, and so I wrote about it. But in doing my research and in writing about the pieces for my dissertation, a lot of them don't have recordings. And so I wanted to make recordings of these pieces that I think are really great, but that a lot of people haven't been able to hear. And one question that I'll often get is, oh, are there any Black women composers for the guitar? That's a question I get quite often. And so I want to record this album so that I can show people that yes, they Black women have been composing for the guitar. They too are interested in the guitar. And so those are the two composers that I hope to feature on the album. There will be a few more. I've commissioned a few people to write works for me, and those will also be a part of the album. Brittany Green being one of them. She wrote a beautiful piece for classical guitar and electronics, which is going to be interesting and a lot of fun. So that piece will be on there. But yeah, those are the pieces that I'm thinking will be on there now. It's going to be a little bit of a surprise, depending on who's excited about excited about allowing me to record and distribute the music. But it'll be a lot of fun.
Part of her fun is composing pieces for the guitar. This is Dr. Wells performing her composition, Home. When the album is finally out, what do you hope people will gain from listening to it?
I hope that people will understand that classical music is for and by everyone. that anyone can write this music, that anyone can be engaged in this music and this work, and that it is as exciting as anything else that you hear. But I hope that we can begin to explore the music of other Black women because, we are not a monolith.
Once again, Dr. Siad Wells, winner of an Mpower Artist Grant from Sphinx. She's planning for her album, La Guitarra Negra, to be released in June of 2023. If you are interested and are eligible, applications for the Sphinx Mpower Grants reopen in December. There's a new vocal competition that's not quite like any of the others, and the deadline is coming up fast. It's called the Duncan Williams Voice Competition, put together by Alexis Smith. She's the founding artistic director.
The competition, importantly, was named for two amazing artists, Todd Duncan and Camilla Williams, who I learned about from my time at New York City Opera. They made their debuts there in the 40s, two Black artists. Also around that time, William Grant Still, his Troubled Island opera was the first opera by a Black composer. All of that happened at New York City Opera a decade before Marian Anderson made history at the Met. And I felt like, wow, I didn't even know who these artists were. Todd Duncan was the first Porgy, handpicked by George Gershwin. So in thinking about what are we going to call this thing, I thought this is a great opportunity to put some names out front that we might not know. So now, yes, everyone's saying Duncan Williams, but they're going to know who those people are. And even though they're not with us anymore, that legacy is really important to all of us.
Tell me about the competition. What is it all about? Who is it for?
Sure. So the competition is for Black and Latinx singers. So one of the cool things about this competition that's different from others is that in the emerging artist division, which is the older age category, we don't have an age limit. And that was with purpose. I've understood from being at MSM and, being around other students of color that there is often a time in your life where you may need to jump out for a little bit, jump out of the scene, jump out of the cycles. And it's very hard to jump back in. Competitions are a way to get exposure, but they often have age limits that can be as low as 30. And, not that there's anything wrong with that, but it does create a barrier. And everything we do that differentiates us is about taking away barriers.
And why did you start this competition?
Well, one of the things I like to say is this is a competition I wish existed when I was a singer. Not that I don't sing anymore, but I was a student at Manhattan School of Music, which was incredible. It changed my life. Obviously, I work here as well. But there were so many amazing singers while I was at school here. Solomon Howard was here. Janae Bridges was a student. Janine DeBick. Brianna Hunter. So Jarrell Williams. There was such a wonderful group of Black artists, especially at that time. And, there weren't opportunities for us in the competition space where we could really showcase, music that was a part of our culture.
Right.
And, as I moved through becoming an administrator, I started to see that, that form of expression and just connection to oneself is really important. And competitions are one way to do that. I always loved competitions because they were sort of...
You're a rarity.
Yeah. But, they're kind of quick and dirty. Like you get in, you do your thing. Not that, doing a full opera isn't fun, but, it's you can pick fun pieces. So So this competition was created in that spirit, but also I had an incredible opportunity to be a part of the Sphinx organization in their leadership program and learning from my cohort who are Black and Latinx. I realized that there's so much that we need from each other. So creating this competition, focusing in on those two groups of people in opera especially, yeah, it felt really important, and it felt really natural when I was thinking about who's the group of people that can benefit the most from this.
Alexis Smith, founding artistic director of the Duncan Williams Voice Competition. The deadline is coming up fast, October 31st. Would a $50,000 purse motivate you? You'll find the links on the Classical Music and Color page on secondstreetdreams.com. The American Composers Orchestra has announced the winner of their 2022 EarShot Readings Commission. He is Elijah Daniel Smith. He beat out over 200 applicants and reigned supreme over the 7 composers selected in the program. He is currently pursuing his Ph.D. in music composition at Princeton University after stops at the Boston Conservatory and the Peabody Institute of the Johns Hopkins University. The winning piece is called Wraith Weight, which he describes as the idea of sonic afterimages by blurring and distorting pitch centers, rhythmic centers, and varying levels of harmonic clarity. As his piece is 17 minutes long, enjoy this short excerpt from Elijah Daniel Smith's piece, Wraith Weight. Thanks to the people at American Composers Orchestra for giving me permission to use part of this work, Wraith Weight by composer Elijah Smith, the winner of the EarShot Readings Commission. If you want to hear the entire piece, there's a link on the Classical Music and Color page on secondstreetdreams.com. And if you'd like to apply for EarShot, the American Composers Orchestra is taking applications for the program until October 28th. It may be too late for some of you, so put it on your calendar for next year. Our coda this month comes with this warning from mezzo-soprano Grace Bumbry. According to Slip Disc, the 85-year-old American opera legend says she's alarmed that some singers or music teachers are teaching a singing method called the Bumbry method. Wrong, she writes, saying that this so-called Bumbry method is crazy and wrong and far from what she would teach. Please, she says, if someone comes to you with that Bumbry method idea, don't believe it. Then there's Lizzo's invitation to President James Madison's house. This came after the classically trained flutist performed a few notes on Madison's 1813 crystal flute while at a concert in D.C. It also comes after several conservatives objected. One of them accused her of desecrating American history just for the sake of it. There's no word on just when Lizzo will perform at the president's home, James Madison. We'll be back with another edition of Classical Music in Color next month. We are the Second Street Dreams Audio Network on the radio and on the Triple W. Thank you for listening to the October-November 2022 edition of Classical Music in Color. I'm Judelin Gibson.